Hello, everyone. This week on the Bryan podcast, I've just come back from an amazing family trip to Durban and Umhlanga. And let me tell you, Durban is looking incredible. The roads, infrastructure, absolutely world-class. Proudly South African moment right there. And speaking of South African pride, we've got a big weekend ahead. Dricus du Plessis takes on Khamzat Chimaev in the UFC, and the Springboks face Australia in what promises to be another bruising peak club, if you're Australian. On a more serious note, aviation in South Africa just delivered one of the most unbelievable stories I've seen in a while. Picture this, a national aviation summit in Durban, and out of nowhere, the organizers decide, let's have an air show at Suncoast Casino in 2 days, with Virginia Airport as the base. Operators were told via a last-minute email, and a NOTAM request was pushed out for a 5-hour slot, as if organizing an air show is just a matter of putting in an Outlook invitation. And if that's not enough, during one of these displays, in a practice session, in fact, an aircraft crashed, instantly turning this from a bizarre planning story into a high-profile aviation incident. Today we're going to do our best to unpack that, as difficult as it might be. Hi, pal.
How's it, guys?
Yeah. Before we get into that sort of bizarre event in Durbs, I want to tell you about my week in Durbs.
Yeah, I'm keen to hear all about it. Sounds like you had a great time down there.
It is. I think one of the cool things with this podcast, we've obviously aviation angle, but travel is so much tied into it. So whenever we get a chance to, doesn't matter where we go, even if it's just down the road, there's a sort of often a bit of content to chat about there. And I was just so impressed, man. I really was so impressed. Durban, I'm a Durbanite, so
yeah, it's like going back home for you.
Going back home. But it was the first time that I've been to Durban where it felt like a holiday, because it was the first time I've been there with the kids. You know, so it's always been funny for me, like, you know, people go to Durban on holiday, and for me it just never felt like a holiday because, you know, when you grow up somewhere, it's cool to go back home. But ultimately, this time it was very different. And just, I was so impressed with everything there. I mean, Durban has had it rough. Those crazy riots, the floods, all sorts of stuff. And at one point, you wondered if Durban would ever come right ever again. I mean, you were there just the other day as well, and you said to me as well, roads, everything. I mean, they building like crazy.
Yeah.
There's so much going on.
No, it's so impressive, and it's really nice to see. I mean, yeah, we were there 2 months ago. We took a trip down to the South Coast, and the South Coast for a while was getting pretty out of whack. I mean, you remember when we went down for Bike Week and all that a couple of years ago. It was really going down.
It was run down, yeah.
But there's been a massive community effort to really clean that all up, and I think it's really driven by the tourism side. But it's so lacquer to be able to have that part of South Africa to go to with your family. I mean, I know what you're saying. It's completely different when you get to take the kiddies down and they're excited about going to see the sea and be on the beach, and it's really cool. And South Africa's got a lot to offer like that.
It's crazy. I think a lot of pilots would feel this. You know, we get to see a lot of places and go to a lot of different places that ordinarily, you know, most people would dream of going. I'm not saying Durban is one of those because a lot of us have been there, but half the fun is being able to show your family these places that you've been.
Yeah.
And when it's really showing off like it was this past week, I mean, I didn't take my shorts and t-shirt off the whole week. Weather was perfect. Stayed at the Umhlanga Sands, which for kids is just absolute paradise.
Yeah.
People were so friendly. Staff there, amazing. And all in all, Umhlanga is just, it's next level, man. There's Lambos driving around, there's Ferraris, it's, you know, for all the stuff we talk about and hear, and you kind of, you like don't see it. It's packed, and there's a vibe, and there's people at restaurants, and everyone knows George is there on a Friday. It's pumping. I mean, it was just so cool. And it was such an awesome break and a very, very proudly South African moment. In fact, you know, look, our municipalities have a lot of shit going on. We know that. But the main roads, I mean, that from what I understand, all that work they're doing on those roads, sort of in Maritzburg, you're coming up to Maritzburg, and that's a bit chaotic on the highways because of all the building. But that's going to be an 8-lane highway.
Yeah.
It's going to be, 4 lanes each side. It's going to be a monster highway.
You have to actually admit that the whole N3 highway from just outside of Joburg all the way down is actually impeccable.
It is.
When we drove it a few months back, I still said to my folks, can't believe how nice this road is to drive. Kind of like it's weird because traveling back, there's that section where you cross the Vaal River. So you basically go, was it from the Free State into Gauteng? It's almost like you go over the stretch of road where you're back in Gauteng because the roads ultimately go to a bit of shit again.
Yeah. It's basically from leaving Joey's early in the morning, that N3 is just impeccable. And you know what's so nice when you're in Durban, there's obviously for the kids and that, you got Ushaka and that. You've got the promenade there in Umhlanga now. I mean, I think last time I was there was even 2018 or so. So it was flipping pre-pandemic stuff. And that promenade goes all the way, you can, I mean, my little girl's got one of those kick scooters, bombing off all the way down that promenade there. The beach was immaculate. But let me tell you what the real surprising part. I basically grew up on Durban beachfront. I mean, I'm telling my wife there, I mean, my mom used to drop us at the beach during our half term and school holidays early in the morning.
You used to flaunt Joe Cools.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that whole area, I mean, really spent half my life there,
Yeah.
Get dropped off there with your surfboard in the morning, and then late afternoon, mom would come pick us up. And then on the weekends as well, my dad was always pedantic about going down to the beach. And regardless about what anyone else wanted to do, but we'd always go down to the beach. And we'd eat at the deck there. There was, next to Joe Cool's, there was the deck. That little part there's looking run down. But Durban beachfront, you almost expect it to be like a slum at the moment. It's not. It is clean. Impeccably clean. The beaches, you couldn't find a cigarette stompy on the beach. It was impeccably clean. Yeah. And it was a real eye-opener. And like you say, I think there's a massive tourism punt there for people to go back to Durban. And I think you said it yesterday about the bush and Cape Town. I mean, that's been it.
Yeah.
Durban's been left out.
Yeah, that's been like the massive drive for many, many years, the whole bush beach package. And primarily the tourists from overseas want to see the winelands and Cape Town and the garden route and all that. And then from there they go to the bush, Kruger Park. Or sometimes when they're getting the beach action, a lot of them go to Mozambique.
Yes.
We've lost a lot of tourism to Mozambique, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's nice to see that there's a drive to send people down to the south coast. I think there's a connecting flight from Kruger direct to Durban now as well that Airlink do, I'm sure. So, yeah, it's just really lacquer to be able to go down to the south coast and actually have a good time again.
Durbs is his place, man. Look,
like you said, from a pilot's perspective, rather King Shaka than Kinshasa.
Sorry. 100%. Yeah. Also, I think now, to be honest, the comparison with Mozambique to Durbs, there's no comparison now. I mean, you got to go to Durban.
Yeah.
I mean, really, there's no comparison. That main beach in Umhlanga, that promenade, the views, the everything, well worth the visit. Go down there. It's power. On a more serious note, let's jump into it. Let's try and unpack what happened here. A bit difficult to do this because there's no official news articles about this. I'm sure a lot of you saw what happened on the news yesterday. But let's just go back to the beginning. Evidently, I didn't even know this was on the go. So I'm taking a lot of this from what I've picked up on Fly Africa and what Duncan's put out. But evidently, there was this... there was an event, an Aviation Summit, held at the RCC, hosted by the CIA and the DOT, Department of Transport. So it was initially this sort of multi-day conference, a program. They decided, the organizers, now whoever that was, we don't know, not pointing any fingers here, with just a couple of days' notice, they wanted a mini air show at basically outside Suncoast Casino. This event that they held, I believe it was something to do, it was the sort of next generation of aviators or whatever it was. I want to talk about that as well, because I've got a bit of a bone to pick with these type of things at the moment, but more about that later. The request landed in the inbox of the Virginia airport manager, who was tasked with rallying local operators to participate. As you know, anything in aviation is a rigmarole to organize. Like whether you're renewing your medical or arranging an air show, it sometimes takes a hell of a long time.
Not done in a couple of hours, that's for sure.
It's not. And I can imagine an air show has, you've got all the elements of aviation that create little bottlenecks, like the safety management and quality assurance and all those things that they don't just get signed off and off you go. And rightly so. But in this case, obviously with, with the bigwigs involved there, things seem to have been expedited, which can happen, and that's fine. There was a NOTAM put out basically saying, look, this is happening. And then this little mini air show took place, and then I believe it was during a practice session where an extra 300 practicing there, what looked like sort of towards the bluff, sort of more on the Oshaka side, went into the ocean. Absolutely tragic. I mean, a well-established a pilot, and horrific video of the plane spiraling. Looked like he was in a, part of his routine that just, wasn't able to pull out of this dive and straight into the ocean. Absolutely horrendous video. Of course, doing its rounds on social media. And this was all for this little event that was put together at the last minute. So you can imagine what's happening now is you've got sort of some people saying, well, what's it got to do with it being a last-minute event? These guys, there was an air show at Virginia on the Sunday. And, these are all professional sort of air show pilots. It's not like they quickly rallied up some random people and said, come do an air show for us. So these were all proper pilots. It was, doing their standard routines. But it was put together last minute. It wasn't planned way in advance. And then there was an accident. So now one wonders, what is going to happen here? Is anyone going to put up their hand and say, let's make sure that doesn't happen again? And can you even point, we're having a discussion before the show started to say, look, how do we speak about this? Because you can't say the accident happened because the event was planned at the last minute. The planning of the event and the operator flying the aircraft, there is a bit of a disconnect there. You can't say one happened because of the other.
Yeah.
But the fact is in aviation that we do slow things down on every level, in almost every circumstance. We slow things down. Something happens in the aircraft. What's the first thing? You just slow down. Right? Yeah. Sit on your hands for a minute. Let's discuss. And like I say, I mean, you apply for a change of license or an addition to your license. It takes an absolute age, and we kind of accept that. So when something like an air show comes along, a last minute just sort of air show, you expect that things like that can't happen, and maybe that event shouldn't have happened in the first place. And you feel absolutely horrendous for the family of this pilot. And I don't quite know what else to say about it. We have to talk about it, and unfortunately it's just a horrendous event.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's just with anything plane crash related, we hate sort of talking about that most of the time, let alone when it comes to like sort of pointing fingers.
It's so close to home.
Yeah, it's incredibly close to home. I mean, it's a hard one to talk about, but valid point. I mean, I get that they were probably thinking, oh, well, there was an air show just a few days ago, so we'll piggyback off of that infrastructure. Yes. So one would think, okay, easy enough to do.
And that was probably their thinking as well.
Most likely, yeah. But then, you do have to be honest that it was two separate, different types of events on the go. But
But
nevertheless,
then also be honest that if something is going to happen, that fingers are going to be pointed your way.
yeah,
And look, I don't think you're going to ever get to the bottom of it, and someone's going to say, yes, it was our fault. It shouldn't. That's not the case, and that's not what we're saying. It's just that this sort of event did happen. There was this accident, and let's hope like hell it doesn't happen again.
yeah, true. I think what cuts deep for South African aviation is it's a bit of a raw week in terms of losing aviation greats.
Yeah.
Obviously we'll chat about it, but
Well, let's chat about it now, because it's almost tied in a way, Paul, because I don't know if you saw, I was on the beach at the time, and there was this missing man display in the Harvards, and Dion Rath was flying one of the aircraft there, and of course his dad, Laurie Rath, lost his life was the week before.
No, hours before, literally. I believe. I think he passed away on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
Laurie, I'm not sure. I thought it was a bit earlier than that. But anyway, Dion was flying one of the Harvards, and one of the other guys that was flying one of the other Harvards as part of the display was Andrew Blackwood Murray, who was the pilot that lost his life in that accident that we've just been speaking about. And I think there's actually a couple of pictures of Dion actually being consoled by Andrew after the event. Obviously, incredibly emotional for Dion to be flying that aircraft with, for his dad as part of that missing man display. And now he's being consoled by this guy who then a couple of days later has lost his life on that same coastline a mile or so away. So it's incredibly sad for South African aviation in general. Laurie Rath, an absolute legend. Dealt with him a few times, and always a pleasure to speak to him. And just no frills, sort of no fuss, strong man, aviator, good guy, someone that you want around. And love and support and everyone for Dion and the rest of the Rath family, and of course for Andrew's Murray's family.
Yeah, I mean, Strong's, and it's not an easy one to deal with. So yeah, best wishes from us.
Yeah, I think we'll have to call it there. It's hard one to speak about on the pod. But anyway, let's get in. There was a topic that came up, a little bit of newsy stuff, but I want to talk to you about this. We'll change gears a bit, yeah. Senator Tammy Duckworth is asking the FAA to review its evacuation rules. She doubts the 90-second evacuation standard is realistic in real emergencies. Recent evacuations took much longer and did not follow FAA guidelines. The FAA has not studied how passengers behave during evacuations well enough. So what this is all about is there's a lot of video evidence of late, because there's been a couple of evacuations lately. And there's a lot of video evidence going on about what actually happens in an evacuation. Now, these aren't rapid disembarkations or anything. These are full-on evacuations. And you see these passengers, Gen Zs mostly, getting off the aircraft with their bags and their phones, and they're taking pictures, and they look very blasé about this event that's taking place, where the pilot in command is obviously given an evacuation order, and there's just this sort of laxy-daisy type of evacuation from the aircraft with everyone carrying their flipping bags. And what the Senate is saying is that, hey guys, if that is the case, if that is how an evacuation happens, then we need to review this 90-second situation. Because the 90-second situation is based on, we're going to get sort of able-bodied people in this aircraft, and we're going to give a evacuation call, and we're going to see that your aircraft is capable of getting, however many people evacuated in 90 seconds.
Not only that, I remember watching a documentary on the A380 getting certified, and that was quite a story, because it was one of the things that was hampering the 380 certification. was to get 500 odd people out in 90 seconds. And that was also based on people sitting in a fuselage, basically waiting, you're ready for an emergency, and then flying out without cell phones, without luggage, in a state of readiness.
Yeah.
We spoke about this just after that CRJ prank in Toronto, where how the hell were Oaks actually filming themselves getting out of that airplane? I mean, so I actually...
Yeah, how is that your first priority? Like,
granted,
the airplane's on its back.
You probably had your phone on with the record button. Maybe you're just lucky. But still,
I don't know.
I mean,
It
to have the wherewithal, okay, well, we've just had a prank. Now I'm going to film this whole thing for Insta-Greasy. I don't know. I think she's got a point. You got to...
No, there's a point. And basically what it goes on to say is, if that is how it's done these days, then it needs to be, we need to reevaluate this whole thing and basically say, look, the 90-second business about just people that are going to be compliant and leave this aircraft and leave their most valuable resource in the seat pocket in front of you, if that isn't what's happening, then it needs to be reevaluated. I'll go a bit further and say evacuations, without doubt, since I've been doing simulator instruction for the past 5 years, whatever it is, without doubt, the most poorly performed exercise, because there's this high level of anxiety, a bit of panic involved, not quite sure. Pilots are used to handling things when you're up in the air, but now when you're on the ground, it's a little bit different. So it takes a while for those cogs to start turning and get this procedure going with a bit of momentum.
Yeah.
And I think if passengers understood that, it's actually, this whole thing for a pilot is actually quite difficult as well. If you're dealing with a fire situation, you're dealing with a fire truck on the outside, you may be in contact with them, speaking with them. It might be difficult. The first officer is probably running the whole whack of checklist. There's a hell of a lot going on. And if a pilot's called for an evacuation, it basically means that he doesn't have any other options and is now saying, right, we need to get off this airplane. So you've got to pull finger a bit there.
Yeah, you got to get rid of that sort of overriding sentiment that, okay, we're on the ground now, we're safe. There's that perception that once you're on the ground, you've defeated gravity and now you're okay. But
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you got to get out of that thing before it sparks, man. And leave your luggage behind. Help people that can't be helped.
Yeah.
And leave the social media stuff to people on the outside, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, crazy stuff. You make a point there. I think there is this thing, okay, we're safe on the ground. You still got to get out. So, yeah. Please listen to the captain and your cabin crew. Well worth it. Get away from the plane as quickly as possible.
Yeah, could save your life one day.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of that Delta crash you mentioned, that in Toronto, a few people were injured in that. That was the other day, that CRJ 700. Delta being sued for $75 million by a flight attendant, Vanessa Miles, who was on board. She claims the airline let an inexperienced pilot fly the plane, causing the crash. The investigation is still ongoing, and the airline denies pilot negligence. Vanessa suffered serious injuries and accuses Delta of putting profits over safety. So is she 100% wrong? I'm not so sure Delta were doing it for profits over safety. I don't think they would benefit by having an inexperienced pilot. They're going to pay a slightly more experienced pilot the same amount of money. So I don't think they're benefiting from a profit point of view. But does it open up a can of worms to say that there is an element of responsibility on the airlines to hire experienced crew so that they are as possibly equipped as they possibly could be to handle any eventuality that may come? In this case, a slight crosswind and a more difficult landing than usual. And look, we don't normally speak about these things because we stay the hell away from it because, no matter what you say, you're going to get fingers pointed at you to say, how can you say that? But I'm not saying it. This Vanessa Miles is saying it, who got very injured in the prank and won $75 million. So is she wrong?
Look, I'd say she's probably being a little bit opportunistic.
Yeah, but she did get hurt.
Yeah, look, either way, they probably owed her $75 million in S&Ts anyway. So, but that said, airlines worldwide now are being forced into a position where they are having to, like in this situation, train lesser experienced, lower time pilots because of the demand for pilots out there right now.
Yeah, it
And
depends if this was a case of, were they taking on this pilot because of the fact that there were no other pilots available, that they got less available, like you say, they got to take more inexperienced pilots, or was it a straight DER inclusion into the airline? She was a female pilot. Were they trying to meet quotas? And if they were, then they might have to answer for that in court, which they're going to have to. I'm not saying they were. Saying Vanessa Miles is saying they were. So check it out. We'll follow that one.
yeah,
Emirates has banned the use of power banks on all flights starting October 1st.
that's a stuff up for anyone with an iPhone.
Yeah, well,
Just
it's
saying.
stuff up for anyone. Look, I heard a comment the other day. I think someone said, geez, your iPhone looks pre-COVID. That's ours are pre-COVID, I think.
Yeah.
So my iPhone doesn't go anywhere without a power bank. So I'm pretty screwed. So a lot of South Africans flying on Emirates all the time. So if you are catching a flight after 1 October, then remember to not take your power bank.
So what's going to happen now is in the terminal building, going through security,
Yes,
you're going to have to get stripped,
Yeah.
take all your kit off,
Yeah.
basically, go through the machine, dump your bottle of water,
Yeah,
throw
your
away your power bank.
$300 bottle of Evian.
Yeah, the 200 Rand tube of toothpaste that you bought at the discount.
That's 76 mils instead of 75.
Chuck that. And your nail clippers, most likely.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, so let's see what they say. There have been several incidents, including a fire caused by a power bank on a plane in South Korea. Passengers can only bring one power bank, but must keep it under the seat, and it cannot exceed 100 watt hours. So if you can't prove those things, I guess it ain't going on the plane.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's going to be a big box of power banks there
But
in Dubai.
now some of these power banks are pretty powerful. I mean, most of them could probably be substituted as a GPU. So
Yeah.
that's probably what they're getting at.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
We've got how many is that one that we've got that we use everywhere?
It's a 40,000 something.
Yeah, that ain't
it's
going to
like-
be going on the plane. And South Africans are so used to walking around with their own GPU because for the past few years we've had no power.
You have to.
Yeah. Eve Air Mobility raised $230 million by selling shares at $4.85 each. Did you buy any of those?
No, but I've been too scared about the Rand dollar exchange lately.
Yeah, it's a bit the rand's strong at the moment. The shares were mainly bought by Embraer and a few other investors. Eve will now be listed on both NASDAQ and Sao Paulo Stock Exchange. The company will use the money for services, expenses, and possibly acquisitions or debt repayment. The move helps Eve get more capital and attract diverse investors. Obviously, this whole eVTOL side and the electric part of aviation is such a big thing and a lot of new investment going on. We chat about it quite a lot. But this Eve Air Mobility, I had no idea of their tie-in with Embraer. And we have mentioned it a few times that obviously the easiest thing for the likes of Boeing and Airbus and Embraer to do is just let's pick the one that's most likely to be far ahead and let's make them part of us, as opposed to them now trying to develop their own electric arms of aircraft.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's probably not a dumb idea to be partnering with Embraer. I mean, they are
Embraer
pretty
legit,
much,
man.
yeah, they're up there with spearheading technology and everything at the moment, and I think they are a better position than Boeing is.
Yeah, that's not hard. Right, a big weekend for South African sport, hence our natty attire.
Correct.
Drickus is taking on Khamzat Chimaev in the UFC. This is by far Drickus's toughest toughest challenge he's had so far. The guy has been unbelievable as a champion so far. The UFC really like him. He speaks well. He's well presented all the time. He's known for his trash talking, and he up to now he's been absolutely fantastic. The whole of the South African sort of fighting scene is very much behind, been behind him for a long time, and I think he's brought so many other people into watching mixed martial arts and getting involved in things like jiu-jitsu and boxing and things. He's been wonderful for the sport. He's been an unbelievable champion.
Yeah.
And this weekend taking on Chimaev is going to be a seriously difficult fight. Chimaev is a beast. He's an absolute beast. His wrestling is as good as elite as it gets. And in Dricus's previous fights, when it's gone to the ground, meaning all fights you start on your feet, and in mixed martial arts, of course, you can use wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo, boxing, kickboxing, whatever. But all fights starts on your feet. And in previous fights, when it's gone to the ground, you have a lot of faith in Dricus because he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He knows what he's doing. But now this guy, Chimaev, is even one notch sort of above. So, when it goes to the ground, Dricus is going to have to be seriously careful. So the bookies are basically saying, first couple of rounds that, Chimaev it's likely he gets him to the ground, and there's a good chance that he taps Dricus out. But if it goes beyond round 2, then it starts to possibly favor Dricus. Dricus has got a better gas tank. He always looks like he's absolutely stuffed. He breathes out of his mouth a lot towards the later rounds. He looks tired, but he continues to fight. Chimaev, on the other hand, he finishes all his fights in the first round. Normally, sometimes the second round.
Yeah.
So this doesn't normally go past round 2. Now, this is a 5-round championship fight. So if it goes into rounds 3, 4, and 5, the sort of deep water parts of the fight, then it heavily weighs in Dricus's favor. But Dricus has got to get through rounds 1 and 2. That's in Chicago, Saturday night there. Of course, it'll be Sunday morning in South Africa. Tune in and support Dricus in that one. It's going to be it's a monster fight.
I think we are really, really looking forward to this one. I almost want to say that this build-up and this particular fight, for me, reminds me of, remember that Rocky 4 movie?
Yes.
Where Sylvester Stallone took on Dolph Lundgren?
You're right.
And it was like
you're right.
Sylvester was the underdog against this tank of a Russian.
You're right.
It kind of reminds me of that. So,
and Chimaev looks mean, man.
Hey, man, he's scary, ugly, but
he's scary. Yeah,
he's like, you look at him and it's almost like running into a fucking tarantula in the middle of the night. I shit myself.
No, he's you don't want to meet that oak in a dark alley.
No.
He seems, there's been a few pictures doing the rounds. He seems taller than Dricus. He's probably got a longer reach. He is the favorite, although Dricus is the champion. It's going to be a seriously tough fight for him. And if you haven't watched a UFC event early in the morning on a Sunday here in South Africa, then do it. It's actually quite a cool thing to do. And it's not all sort of blood and guts if you're worried about that side of it. It's mixed martial arts, and they are an art. Despite what it looks like on there, those guys are elite. I mean, they're absolute assassins, and the best in the world in this octagon. It's sort of modern gladiator stuff, and Dricus brings in sort of the South African toughness. He's got a bit of like a Springbok rugby type element to him, and he just doesn't give up. He's definitely not the most talented fighter in the UFC. He's definitely one of the toughest, and he's probably one of the better all-round fighters. So he's got very good kickboxing. He's got very good boxing. He's got the jiu-jitsu background. He can wrestle. He can take someone to the ground. So he's got this sort of very good MMA style across the board, whereas Chimaev he's got sort of elite level boxing, but he's ultimately what he's going to try and do is take Drickers to the ground and keep him on the ground.
But to sum it up, he's a burki.
Yeah.
Don't stuff it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that said, I mean, prior to the fight, Saturday night or Saturday evening rather, we've got the Springboks taking on Australia. So a Springbok game we've been looking forward to for ages, and I just hope that this weekend will be a bit like it was it to end of last year, where we had a weekend it was just massive South African sport and we just dominated. Yeah. Because I think we playing the T20 finals in Australia as well. So if our boykies win that, then South Africa's top dog next week again.
Well, we've done so well in sports of late. The Springboks. Yeah, the Springboks haven't really been tested this year. Australia, you don't know how good they are because they played British and Irish Lions, and Lions had a very strong team, but you don't really know how good they are. Yeah. But Australia have improved a hell of a lot. They seem to have from last year at least, and it's not going to be easy. But if you're betting against the Springboks on Saturday at Ellis Park, then there's nothing I can do for you.
Yeah. I got one grab. Rumor has it that Rassie's putting old Libok in charge of the kicking.
Money.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So
maybe they won't need those. maybe he's basically saying, look, it's always nice to have a legit goal kicker who you can trust 100%. But to be honest, like I'm putting the word out there. I don't think we're going to be needing those extra 2 points for the trials. I think we're going to smash them.
I hope so.
I think we're going to smash.
But that said, I suppose we do have to keep the aviation element in it. And normally with these games at Ellis Park, when the Springboks are playing, SAFA normally put on a bit of a fly past.
Yes.
I haven't heard any news about one happening tomorrow.
I haven't.
Is that because
they got no crew or what? I don't know. But you open up a topic. I mentioned at the beginning, this event that happened in Durban.
Yeah.
Evidently, from what I can see, it was all next gen. What are we doing for the next generation of aviators? Can we throw it out there that can we start looking after the people that are currently aviating? Like the next gen is the next gen. Okay, they are, yes, there's all these things, the young side coming through. I get it. You got to encourage them to become pilots, and you got to, bring them through and get them excited. I get it. Fully get it. Have more, totally get it. But you need to look after the existing aviators that are currently aviating at the moment that are probably going there and going through a bit of a tough time in South Africa, because let's face it, the South African landscape in particular is very difficult at the moment. There's limited opportunity. There are no legacy airlines here. There's certainly no legacy salaries here. It's a difficult time, and thank goodness that the guys and girls that have decided to stick around have decided to stick around, because otherwise you ain't going to be flying to Durban to see that beach that I spoke to you about, or Cape Town, or the bush. So we need to look after the existing aviators that are currently staying in South Africa, doing their trade here, basically saying, look, staying in South Africa, earning less money is more important to me than going over to the sandpit to go and earn a few dollars. And for that, there should be some tap on the back. And I would like to start seeing more of a push to say, let's do more for the current Oaks that are flying, because they are the ones anyway that are going to encourage the next generation to fly. But if you've got a group of aviators here that are hurtful with the industry, that don't want to fly, that go around telling people this is a cuck job, don't do it, go into something else, that is bad for the next generation. So look after the flipping existing people, and they will look after the next generation.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think this next generation, it's just a nice bit of fluff that you put on these events that show, oh, good, you are doing something you are so nice, you're so good. Stuff that. Look after the existing people.
Wholeheartedly agree, guys, because without the current generation being looked after, you're going to have fucking no one to mentor the next generation when they do eventually penetrate the industry.
Exactly.
So
Look after the existing people that are keeping the the whole thing ticking over.
100%.
Because otherwise there ain't anything to go into. You can have all the next bullshit that you want, but if there's nothing to actually go into, well, then you're wasting your time.
Exactly.
Have a lovely weekend. Let's go, Trickers.
And Bokke, take it easy. Catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.